Dive into summer with Yumiko's July ready-to-wear collection. Whether you are standing out in your Zoom classes at home or safely in the studio, their new options are here to prepare you for all your summer course needs. In addition to the continuation of the Shop Boutique page online, Yumiko is excited to now bring parts of the New York City store to you virtually through their first series of Instagram Live events. Yumiko will be showcasing exclusive in-store options available to ship immediately, with one special leotard offered at a discount and a small gift included with each purchase. Stay tuned for live event details, new releases, and New York City store reopening updates at yumiko.com and at Yumiko on Instagram. Save the date because this year the Lake Tahoe Dance Festival is coming to you. The 8th annual Lake Tahoe Dance Festival online edition takes place July 22nd through 24th, 2020. Enjoy Tahoe in your living room over 3 unique nights, each with a variety of works around a common theme, with artist interviews and introductions around the works being performed. Special guests include Ashley Bowder, Adrienne Dancing Waring, Lloyd Knight, Stephen Hanna, and many more. This year's performances will be available on their website, LakeTahoeDanceCollective.org, with a suggested donation of just $25. Be sure to connect with them via social media on Facebook and Instagram at Lake Tahoe Dance Collective. I'm Rebecca King-Ferraro.
And I'm Michael Breeden, and you're listening to Conversations on Dance.
Today we are joined by Lloyd Knight, principal dancer with the Martha Graham Dance Company. Born in England and raised in Miami, Lloyd trained at Miami Conservatory of Ballet and New World School of the Arts. He joined Martha Graham Dance in 2005 and performs the major male roles in the Graham repertory, including Appalachian Spring, Embattled Garden, Night Journey, and many others. He is currently a principal guest artist for the Royal Ballet of Flanders. We talk with Lloyd about his start in dance, his beginnings with Martha Graham Dance Company, some of his favorite onstage memories, and his first year participating in the Lake Tahoe Dance Festival. Since the festival is going virtual in 2020, we will all get the privilege of watching Lloyd's duet with Wendy Whelan in Martha Graham's Moon on Thursday, July 23rd via their website, LakeTahoeDanceCollective.org.
So we're so happy to finally be joined by Lloyd Knight, who's someone that we wanted on the podcast for so long. Lloyd, thank you for coming on and talking to us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I've been waiting for this one.
I know we tried to get it in Vail, right? But then we didn't have our paths crossed just for a few hours, I feel, in Vail.
Yeah, we were there really short.
Yeah.
Lloyd and I, we go back. So it's like, you know, I knew we were going to get you in at some point.
Eventually.
We had to prioritize people who are maybe more leery of our podcast.
Like, we can get him anytime.
Yeah, we have you now.
It finally happened.
Yay!
So let's just start at the beginning, Lloyd. And if you could tell us a little bit about when you first became interested in dance.
Oh, wow. Well, I grew up in Miami, Florida.
We stand.
I grew up in Miami, Florida, and I ended up attending New World School of the Arts. Mm-hmm. And I also took classes at Miami Conservatory, School of Ballet, Thomas Dahmer Youth Ballet. And then I did some summer intensives in the city. And it wasn't until senior year, the shift really happens. So decisions need to be made. And
this is senior year at New World?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And I really, I've always loved dance. I danced in middle school, sorry, kind of going like backwards. But I danced in middle school, started a little bit late, and then I stopped all of high school. And I always missed dance, like those whole 4 years. And then I decided to really like go back into it. And I started taking night classes like the end of senior year just to like get back in.
But you were still at New World School of the Arts in high school, but not doing dance. Were you doing something else?
No, well, New World is a high school and a college.
Right. So you went to the college portion.
Yeah.
For
high school, I like dropped dance and I took up architecture. I was in a technical arts high school. Like, it was just like none of that.
You were checking everything out.
Yeah. But I miss dance so much, and I decided to go back, and college was a lot of growth for me as far as, you know, obviously training, but mentally and trying to figure out like what it was that I was trying to do after school.
So during this time when you're sort of, like you said, you were taking night classes, like you're playing kind of catch up, were you just, I guess, very present in that moment, you know, just focusing on the task at hand? Or were you thinking like, this is a means to an end. I want to have a career in dance. This is why I'm pushing. What was going through your mind at that point?
I'm just trying to, I guess, make it because not a lot of people that I was surrounded by prior to New World were into the arts, especially dance. So me saying I wanted to be a dancer, like people just didn't understand or get what that was about.
Right.
And so it was really hard for me because I was so isolated in a way. So I knew what I had to do, and I was taking these classes, and they're like, we don't really understand what you're doing, but okay, have fun. And then once I got into New World, I think people started to kind of recognize it more as really being something. You know, they would come and see the shows, and sometimes they could watch class. I would invite friends to come and watch class. And so it was great. And then I started doing summer intensives, which helped a lot. So really that time was so special.
Yeah.
What was that like? Go ahead. We love it. I mean, it's just, see, this is what I'm talking about when I say it's easy when you have someone that you are friends with, and because it's like, we just both want to keep going with you.
What kind of guidance did New World School of the Arts give you in terms of what your next steps could be in your career? And how did they help you kind of navigate those times?
They were a lot hands-on and were really on top of us in a good way. Sometimes we would joke around and we would say that, you know, this school is like we have the best of the divas because all of our teachers have worked with the originals, you know. From Graham, we had Gerald Ebbets. He danced for City Ballet, like at the Jose Limon Company. They were all great. So they had that great knowledge from the people that they worked for. So, you know, they would recognize in us right away, like what path maybe we should go into and how to achieve it. So for me, it was kind of a mixed bag because I'm a bun head. I love ballet. I really, really enjoy it. And I really wanted to go that route in the beginning. So I really wanted Dance Theater of Harlem. So I did 2 summer intensives there, but my last summer there, they were starting to shut down. It was right before they shut down. So I was like, okay, that's not.
Now what?
Now what? But at the same time, I really loved Graham. So my teachers at the time, and especially Peter London, he was in the company. So he would bring down the company to come and teach us, to give master classes and lecture demonstrations, all this great stuff. And, you know, making that connection. And then the audition came senior year and I flew to New York and I did it.
Nailed it.
I tried. There was some blood, but.
What about the Graham style, like the Graham technique and the rep? Was appealing to you, since you said, I mean, it is so different from ballet, obviously, and you were saying you were a bunhead, you were very into classical ballet. So what about Graham then became like another obvious route for you?
People always ask me this question, and I don't know why it's so hard for me to answer it, but I think because it's so, to me, it's so very real and visceral and very human. I can connect to it more, you know. And I don't actually find it a lot different than, let's say, George Balanchine, actually. Because when I watch his choreography, I think it's so ballsy and real.
Right.
You know, it's like even the positions that they have to make and stuff like that. I'm like, wow, it obviously he was ahead of his time. And it's still like it shows that today. So I put him and Martha on the same platform, really. But I love the dramatic of Graham. I love the technique.
We love it.
It's just, you know, you can really incorporate your whole body, and everything starts from your center. We do a lot of contraction and releases, and I mean, everything in life starts from there anyway. So I connect to that.
What we talk a lot about on our podcast, changing styles. Like when you start your ballet training, for example, sometimes you might be more classically trained, then transition into Balanchine, for example. So you being so focused on ballet, and you were familiar with Graham, as you mentioned, but how much of a learning curve was it for you once you were focusing exclusively on the Graham technique?
Graham classes were hard as hell. First of all, the first class, actually, it was the summer before I was a freshman. You have to do this summer intensive. And I just remember sitting on the floor, and all of us were just looking at each other. We're like, what the hell is this? Like, why are we sitting on the floor? Why?
Why are we starting there?
Yeah, it was just so like all these question marks. And Graham teachers usually, especially from like back in the day, they're really like dramatic and extreme. And, you know, Peter would walk in and he's this really tall, like 6 foot Trinidadian man. And he's like, no playing around, and he wants to see it right away. And it's exciting, but I was so nervous. I didn't know any of it. It took a while. It took so long. It actually didn't really start feeling comfortable maybe until like junior year, probably. Yeah. Just because it's so codified, like it's its own thing. So.
Well, it's so different from ballet because ballet is so up, right? And then you're kind of more like down. I mean, I don't know. I'm not super familiar with that, obviously. But
no, it is very
like,
grounded.
Yeah.
It is. Like,
I have no plie, so I can't be grounded. Yeah, exactly. So any of that, I'm like, I don't get it. So, yeah.
But that was the great thing about New World, was that we had all those things. So every day, usually, now it might be different, but we always started with ballet. And then after that, you went into Lamone or Graham or Cunningham or, you know, whatever else they had.
Yeah.
So you got everything.
Right.
So once you were at the company, then what were some of your early years like? What were some of your, what was your experience like adjusting to company life? You guys tour a lot, you perform a lot. All that sort of stuff.
I was so clueless. Right? Well, you know, first I was the youngest one when I entered, and I was the baby. And everybody else, they had been there for like decades.
Right.
So long. So just to enter the space, it was exciting, but at the same time really nerve-wracking. But you know, everybody's super sweet and they just want to help you as much as possible. Really lost about touring. Tour life got me, like, even packing, just overpacking. It's like
like, it's a real skill.
The learning curve for everything.
Yeah, you're like, what? I can't take the whole house? Like, okay.
Well, because you could be gone for long periods of time, right?
Yeah.
So what's an average tour length for you guys?
The longest I've been on tour has been like, I think like 2.5.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah. Or, you know, sometimes we might like come back for like 3 days and then go back out. So
do your laundry and go back.
Yeah. It depends on the tour.
Yeah.
But tour life was a lot of fun, but also very hard for me because at that point I had never really traveled around anywhere. And my first tour was like to Colombia. Bogota, Colombia. And, you know, we got off the plane and there's like people with rifles and you can't go anywhere by yourself because the gorillas and, you know, all kinds of stuff. Like,
right. Where you're like, what did I get myself into with this?
Yeah, totally. So, but just getting used to everything, getting used to the schedule, getting used to the tour schedule, getting used to even makeup. I thought I knew how to do my makeup and they were like, hell no, what are you doing?
We heard that from the ladies at Graham. They were, remember Michael and Vale? We had this long conversation.
I mean, well, the Graham makeup is very
specific, right?
Specific, yeah.
So what is the difference? What about for men then? The women were telling us a little bit about it. What are some of the... I mean, is it like the eyes in the same way? No.
Yeah, everything is... I mean, of course, the girls are much more elaborate with it, but it's... there's a drama to it. So like I have these early photos of when I joined and like my makeup was literally to my hairline. Like ridiculous. But like Peter London, going back to him, he actually I was lucky enough where he was our rehearsal director my first tour. So he was there it was great because he guided me. But I remember before my first show, I like walk out into the hallway and he's like, when are you going to do your makeup? Like, it's almost showtime. And I was like, I did my
This
makeup.
Is it?
He was like, what? And he just like went off. And he was like, it's the Graham Company. Every show is like you're performing at the Met. And he grabbed some pencils and literally like scribbled.
I love that.
Hysterical.
But you can kind of see the best is like when you see early photos, especially like the 70s. Those PBS videos, the men, like they drew on their lips, like eyes, just like I love it though.
I think that moment's so sweet. I feel like there's nothing more like tender than an older dancer like passing that tradition on.
It's true. Yeah.
I think that's such a nice moment.
And I've learned, I definitely like stepped away from that extreme and started taking tips from some other dancers. And it's something that's very of today's time. So.
Right. So how did you find yourself settling into the company and, adjusting to tour life and then finally like kind of finding your place? What was that transition like for you in terms of the repertoire you were dancing and your comfort level with being a part of the company?
Yeah. I think what actually helped me the most was having more friends join the company. Because when I first joined, I was by myself. And there were I think there were 2 other women that joined, but they were much older than me. And then like the year afterwards, actually a lot of New World people started joining. So we all knew each other and that helped a lot.
Right.
For sure. And, getting parts and, that was always nice. But I actually loved that my first few years were just really extreme core parts. They didn't start pushing me up till I think it was like maybe the end of my second or third year. So, I really had those important years of just, first of all, like reshaping and getting my technique better. And then also learning how that technique goes into the repertory. So even the core parts, like even though I was doing core parts, all of that, like I felt like it made me gain so much knowledge and make me feel a little bit more comfortable. Because once I would get to the roles that were coming in, they were hard, but I felt like I was capable of doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
So what were some of the first major featured things that you got to cut your teeth on?
The Stranger in Embattled Garden. So I did that, and I still love that part today. What else did I do? The Yellow Men in Diversion of Angels. And they started to kind of work me into The Preacher in Appalachian Spring.
Right.
So it was like those 3 were kind of like my first like big stuff.
And how was that for you? Did you find that very intimidating, or were you like, this is great? I feel like I've done the core parts. I'm ready to kind of move on to a new challenge. What was your
It
thought
was
process?
nerve-wracking. It was fun, but it was nerve-wracking. And the thing also that happens with Graham is like, we also have a lot of sets. So it's like you have to deal with the choreography, but then you have the drama, and then you have the sets. And Noguchi sets are like, yeah.
They're trying to knock that down.
Yeah,
No.
there's like a whole extreme in itself. So like in Battle Garden, you know, sometimes we have the sets and it's great, and sometimes is you don't. So you kind of have to wait around. But in Battle Garden, we didn't have the sets at first, and you know, I'm like, yeah, I got it. It's fun. I'm getting it, and then then the shows come. Well, you know, the period with the sets, and you have to get used to it.
Right.
Then the
and
show
as
came.
dancers, we just love those extra challenges, you know?
Right?
We don't have enough to work with already.
And at the last second, sometimes you're like, oops, okay, all right, change all of that. All right, okay.
Sure, no problem.
But in Battle Garden, it's, I don't know if you've ever seen the sets or pictures or anything, but there's a big tree. And then there's a big garden in the back with like holes, and my character like jumps in and out of it. It has sticks sticking up. But the in Battle Garden set, I actually start the piece hanging upside down.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, right not.
No problem.
So my first show actually went really good, but the second show, there was a malfunction with the music. So the curtain opened, and I'm upside down, and I'm like looking at this other character, Lilith, on the floor, and the blood is just like rushing to my head, and I'm like,
oh no,
why
Where's the music
taking so long to start? Like, I don't understand.
Oh no.
So then the music just like blasts. It just starts, and I go crazy. I'm like, start dancing. Just jump off.
Just get out.
Start dancing. So like I jump off, and I just remember running all over the stage, literally just trying to find where I was in the music, but not really listening, just like in a panic.
Just panic.
And
Panic.
I like go up to another character. There was this dancer named Tade. So I like go up to him to like make a gesture, and he's not moving, and I'm like, what is happening? It was
oh my god,
town. Like,
oh no,
I love stories like that.
But it was amazing. All my epic Graham stories has actually been with that one piece.
Give us another one. I want to hear another one.
What's another one? In Italy, we were on tour, and I'm in the tree with all the sticks sticking up and stuff like that. And I'm like jumping through the tree. I'm doing all this stuff. I don't know how, but one of the branches got stuck in my arm, and it broke off. And they're long pieces of like wood.
Right.
And it breaks off. And again, smart Lloyd. I'm like, I'm going to dance with the stick.
You got a prop.
Now I have a prop.
I'm literally dancing around with the stick. And this girl named Jen DePaulo, at one point I stopped dancing, but I still had the stick. And I'm just looking at her, and she's just like literally just went and grabbed it and just put it down on the floor. And I was like, you're so smart. Like,
yeah, she's like, we're done with this now.
You don't need this stick anymore. Good. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Classic Lloyd.
So, you know, you were taking on these more prominent roles, which of course resulted in subsequent promotions. You started to gain some prominence in the New York City dance community, and not just with the company. You were asked to guest with people like Misty Copeland and Wendy Whelan. You guest regularly now with the Royal Ballet of Flanders. What are those outside experiences? How does that feed you artistically? Like, what's the balance between Graham life and the extra work that you take on?
Well, I love to do outside work. Like, I think for any artist, it just adds to your nuances or what have you. But Yeah, it's just, they're fun to do, first of all. It's just something great to do opposite of what you do all the time. And working with other choreographers, I gain a lot from that. It pushes my imagination and excitement for dance. Yeah. So Misty and Wendy coming in, I mean, first of all, that was just like epic. Like Wendy, going in the studio to work with Wendy, I was like, what? Like, I didn't even want to touch her. I was just like,
but your inner bun head was
right. And but she's so relaxed and she jokes around a lot. That actually surprised me so much. So she definitely like made me comfortable, and it was fun. But yeah, choreographers are awesome, and I love that we do contemporary work at Graham now. So, you get to work with all these people.
Is that a more recent development with the company? Like when you first started out, were you guys doing more of the sort of staples of the rep? And because now you've had Pam Tanowitz, and I was lucky enough to work with you when Troy Schumacher did a new work for you guys. So this is a new thing, or was it always kind of you would have a choreographer here and there?
They've worked with outside choreographers in the past. And then I think maybe shortly before I joined, there was a break. So we have these things called we also have these things called lamentation variations. So that started in 2007. So I had 2 years of just Graham. And then 2007 were when they started doing these like little vignettes of choreography. And then I think it might have been like 2010 or something like that when I think Nacho Duato was the first like choreographer that came in and made a full piece.
How was that an adjustment? Because at Miami City Ballet, we had sort of a similar-ish experience where at the very beginning of our career there, we were only dancing like balancing work, any established rep or any established works. And then we started working with choreographers. And so how was that shift for you to have that person right in front of you that's creating it as you go, and sometimes then you have to change. They change from one day to the next, one moment to the next, who knows?
I was super excited. I mean, these choreographers too, I'm from a time where, I grew up like watching Killian and Nacho. And so for Nacho Duato to like walk into the studio, I was like, just
so cool.
But he loves Graham. He loves the artist. So it was super comfortable. It was great. It really, like, people ask me about that experience all the time. And there was not one thing bad about working with him. And he came twice. So
that's so cool.
Yeah. And it's always great when you have a choreographer, especially that comes into Graham, because Graham is so stylized that they come in open. And we want to, of course, learn their style, but we want them to also acknowledge where we're coming from. So
totally. Yeah, I think that certainly makes sense for them to do. And I think we've talked about that before, Michael, didn't we? With Graham, about how that was like a specific thing for when the choreographers came in to be working.
When Pam did her work, right? She
Pam
was
maybe
referencing, she was directly referencing other Graham repertoire.
Yeah,
and definitely Troy. He made a huge effort to immerse himself in Graham rep, and he would come watch Denise's classes. Oh, Denise, we got to get her on the pod.
You'll probably need like 3 episodes for that one.
Yeah.
She'll have so much to say.
I love it.
We love it.
So this year, you told us that you've been trying to work out schedule-wise to go to the Lake Tahoe Dance Festival for a few years now, and this was supposed to be your first year at the festival, but unfortunately COVID had other plans for the world. And so the festival will now be digitally July 22nd through 24th on their website, and you will be streaming. They will be streaming you and Wendy together in a Graham piece called Moon. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us. So I know we were talking a little bit about working with Wendy. Is that the only time you've worked with her was on that piece, or have you done a couple of things with her?
No, it's just on
that one.
On Moon. Yeah.
So
she performed it with us in the company. I think we did it in North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And then we performed it for the Jacob's Pillow gala, and then Dance Against Cancer. Sorry.
How did that come up to begin with, that she would join you guys just for this one pas de deux and make that a thing?
I don't know. From what I remember, I think maybe she might have told me in Willie Berman's class or something like that.
So casual.
And then I don't know how the connection happened, but then she came to Graham, and I kind of had a test out. I had to go in the studio and just like do a lift or two.
Right.
And that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about the piece? Is there anything in particular that audience members should kind of look out for?
Well, it's a beautiful little gem, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Not very long, but it's come from earlier pieces. So there was a piece called Canticle, and I think it's, I wrote some stuff down, 1952, that piece was choreographed. So this duet kind of started from there, and then took a break for a couple of years, and then came back into the rep. There's a famous Martha Graham video called Dancer's World. And you'll see some clips from that piece. But my character, if you can say, is the sun, and it would be the moon. And in Graham, you have a lot of opposition. So one always feeds the other and whatnot. So you'll see that in the piece. You know, I come in and I kind of look like I'm searching. And you know, the lights slowly come up, and you see the reflectiveness, and she comes in, and you actually can see the flickering, I guess you can say, of the moon.
So cool.
That played between us.
Oh, I can't wait to see it.
I love it. I can't wait to see it. Yeah, that sounds like very classic. It's because there's the drama component to it. Like already I can envision that. Like that's what just makes Graham so special, I think.
Yeah, but it's really like, for me, it's kind of trans-like. Yeah. So you watch it, and after a while, like the piece is just done, and you're like, oh my God, that was so beautiful.
I want to go back in that world.
Yeah. Yeah. Even being in it as well. The music is really like dreamlike.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited about it.
Well, we can't wait to see you perform. We wish it was live, but maybe next year.
Yes.
I mean, you can't, they can't keep you away from Lake Tahoe forever. It's going to happen. Kristen will make it work.
Right? I feel so bad for her. We were almost there.
Yeah. But this is going to be a very close second to be able to watch this and
I think
enjoy.
How great that, you know, people that would not be able to travel to Lake Tahoe can now see it from the comfort of their own homes.
For sure. And I mean,
Lloyd and Wendy and Martha. It's a
bring Wendy into your house.
Yeah. It's going to be really great. We really are looking forward to it, and we appreciate you taking the time. It's so fun to talk with you. And
thank you, Lloyd.
Thank you so much. This was fun.
This is great.
Thank you for joining us this week. If you would like to support the Conversations on Dance podcast, there are a few ways that you can help. Click over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. Download episodes when you listen to allow our analytics to better understand our listenership. Join our Facebook group, Conversations on Dance Friends of the Pod, or you can offer a donation. Conversations on Dance has always been and will always be free to our listeners. You can help us continue to create and produce this unique behind-the-curtain look at the dance world by visiting conversationsondancepod.com/support. Thank you for tuning in. See you next week.